It is the change that takes place when you get diagnosed with cancer, with a life-threatening form of cancer. Things that used to be important are not as important. Things that are really important take on a much greater sense. And the sense of immediacy is really, really in front of you at all times. By the way, can I see a show of hands of how many people in this room have been diagnosed with some form of cancer? How many people in this room know somebody that's been diagnosed with cancer? When I got diagnosed, and I was told by one of the doctors that I had between 1 and 3 years to live, and that was 2 years ago. And so the things that go through your mind, at least it went through mine the most, was my kids.
Books like this have a way of sneaking up on you and hitting you in the gut. But Randy trusts is the truth of his experience.
Randy is the kind of guy that will say the hard things that you don't think you want to hear and you don't think people can say, but Randy's willing to say them. And so it was very emotional for me.
When my kids, Riley and Emily, were 7 and 8 respectively, we received one of those wonderful winter storms. The next morning we awoke to a blanket of pure delight, 4 or 5 inches of untracked, velvety white scenery. The kids wolfed down their breakfast while their mothers struggled to pull their coats, boots, hats, and gloves over their excitement. The sense of urgency filled the room and expanded to every corner. They were out the door with shouts of joy and sleds in hand. My wife summoned me out the door that morning to share the experience with all that was good: family, snow, kids, dogs, and the joy that this all brings. Still in my pajamas, I stated I'd be right out. I needed to check email first to make sure that nothing was on fire. I appeared on the scene to find exhausted, wet, soaked kids with rosy cheeks. They were done, and the snow that had been so pristine had taken on a different sheen. Rain had begun, and the freshness of the early morning had melted into the afternoon. As the kids made their way into the house to warm themselves with cocoa, my wife looked over her shoulder and she said to me quietly, "You missed it." I stood there by myself with my kids' sleds in hand while rain dripped off the end of my nose. This memory haunts me more than I care to admit. I recall telling myself, we'll do it later, and then it'll happen. Unfortunately, the next year the kids were older, and it didn't snow, and I missed it. If you were to offer me $1 million to recant what was so important to spending the morning sifting through my computer in lieu of sledding with my kids, I'd come up empty. Blank. I can't remember the contents of a single one of those emails. Yet I can recount the sights and the smells, the excitement of that snowy morning with such clarity it could have happened this morning. What does that say? Sitting in your home office pounding out meaningless emails? Or sledding with your kids during a once-in-a-lifetime moment? Had I had cancer that glorious day with those kids running around my feet, without question I would have been out there the entire time. No questions asked, no emails returned, no excuses given nor expected. Are you missing it? If you are, please take a moment and live your life as if you have cancer. It's a tough one to recount, but it's a really important story, and I hope it resonates with everyone in this room, because I really truly believe that it's what it takes to live an extraordinary life. And you have to live in the moment. You cannot live yesterday. You can't live for tomorrow. You got to live for today.
What Randy's trying to do is really communicate that every day has meaning. Every day there is an opportunity to live an extraordinary life. And don't wait until you have cancer or some catastrophic illness to discover that. We've all got a lot to give to other people. We've got a lot to receive, and I think it's important to understand that and to live your life in a joyful, meaningful manner.
I think the most important thing is that Randy got an opportunity to give, and giving helps us all. When we give, we're better, and we do. Anytime we can give, we're better off, and Randy got to give his story. So the greatest thing was for Randy to give. The second thing is that we got to receive, and we got to receive the nightmare, the hardship, and then the turnaround.
You know, this is a great book, and we should really answer these questions because I think it will help us focus our lives on things that are important to us.